Joining us now, Democratic Senator from Virginia, Mark Warner. He's the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, it's really good to have you, especially today. Let's talk about Poland first. What can you tell us about what happened and the significance of it?
What I can tell you is, remember, Donald Trump said, Putin would never have gone into Ukraine if he was president. Well, Donald Trump's president, and now we've got Putin going into Poland. I mean, this is the same Donald Trump that rolled out the red carpet for Putin a few weeks ago. I mean, he's been played by Putin throughout this time. He appears to be more and more people, friend and foe alike, are basically ignoring the president of the United States or thumbing their nose at him. So you have Putin on one hand doing this with Poland, which brings us much closer to the kind of international conflict that we've all been concerned about. You've got Bibi Netanyahu thumbing his nose at Trump and showing unequivocally that he doesn't give a damn about the hostages. He has no interest in getting a ceasefire and is going to do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. And as your correspondent pointed out, we asked Qatar to allow Hamas to have an office there a decade ago so we could do back channel and have negotiations. And then to top this all off, we saw just last week President Xi, with his axis of chaos, demonstrate enhanced Chinese military capability with that big parade. And in the meantime, the state of our allies are enormously concerned because, I can tell you from the intel standpoint, they are worried about the undermining of our intelligence community's independence almost on a daily basis. If this doesn't scare the hell out of you, then you're not appreciating how close we are to literally chaos across the world. And frankly, Donald Trump may be standing alone because he's burned so many of our allies in 8 short months.
I'm sorry, what you just said is really stunning. You should be scared, is what you're saying to anybody watching this, to the American public. You should be scared today?
If you don't appreciate how dangerous Donald Trump's activities are with basically giving a green light to Putin, if you don't understand that one of our closest allies is basically thumbing his nose at Trump with this strike in Qatar against the very negotiators that were considering a new ceasefire proposal, or the boasting of Chinese military strength. And what I hear that worries me so much is concern from our allies because Donald Trump has clearly put our allies in harm's way. I mean, remember, he was going to kick Canada out of the Five Eyes. And you've got this undermining almost a daily basis of the independence of our intelligence community as intelligence professionals get fired if they don't bend the knee. And my fear is what happens when America has corrupted intelligence. We end up in a war like Iraq.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that lawsuit against the FBI and the accusation that people were fired knowingly just because they were involved in investigations into Donald Trump, because they were assigned those investigations. But I do want to stick on Poland for one more beat. The consensus seems to be that this is Vladimir Putin testing the waters, seeing how far he can go in, trying to push back NATO in the effort for him to get farther and farther into Ukraine. Do you have any indication that he might want to take it a step farther, that he might actually arm a drone and do something with it in an allied country? Was this the first step to seeing how the allies might react, how Donald Trump might react?
I don't know what Putin's next step will be, but, there was enormous consensus on both sides of the aisle that Vladimir Putin would never stop just with Ukraine. If he's successful there, whether it's the Baltic states that used to be part of the Soviet Union or Poland that used to be under the direct influence of the Soviet Union, he's going to continue to try to reconstitute the old Soviet Union. He's been clear about that. And the fact that President Trump has downplayed the importance of our alliances and frankly coddled Putin in ways that he thought simply his personal relationship with Putin was going to end all these wars, I think we are in a more dangerous position today than we've been in a long time.
Do you know what we would do, what would happen next if Vladimir Putin did make a move in Poland or any other allied nation?
That would attack the very foundation of NATO. Article 5 of NATO, and Poland didn't call on that today, but Article 5 of NATO, the peace treaty that frankly has kept war from breaking out in Europe for the last 75 years, states very clearly, if one nation is attacked that's part of NATO, then it is viewed as an attack upon all of the now, I believe, 30-plus nations that are in NATO. So the question would be, will Donald Trump actually honor our commitment? Will he stand up? Or will he do what I expect him to do is he'll give Vladimir Putin another, well, we're going to do something in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to make a decision in the next 2 weeks, which is the default Trump answer to any hard problem. And I think what we're now seeing is friend and foe alike around the world know that Trump can get pushed around. And again, it's frankly just remarkable to me that this is happening in Poland. It's remarkable to me that, Bibi Netanyahu's government in Israel is so willing to be disdainful of its biggest ally, America, that they take this action in a third country. And we continue to see, China make the appeal to the rest of the world. Hey, look how unstable and chaotic America is. Frankly, China is trying to present itself as the more stable entity on the world stage. These factors are all intertwined, and they concern me greatly. And I know a lot of my Republican colleagues are privately concerned about all this, but will they ever raise their voice? And the question on that one is still out.
Yeah, the privately concerned reports we've heard now for 10 years.
Right.
If they are concerned, I would like to hear it publicly, because you seem pretty concerned, sir. Let me ask you a follow-up question about Israel. If Israel is flouting this alliance with the United States, not giving us a heads up, as the president indicated, should we be continuing to support Israel? What is your position on that?
My belief, and I've been a staunch supporter of Israel, but I worry that the Bibi Netanyahu government is not, frankly, in many ways acting in Israel's best long-term interest. It appears that Mr. Netanyahu is more interested in staying out of the Israeli justice system and staying prime minister rather than trying to bring back the hostages, or for that matter, try to get to a ceasefire by taking out the very negotiators who were reviewing a ceasefire deal, by taking them out in a third country. It's absolutely clear that at least his government doesn't want to have a ceasefire. I hope America, and I frankly hope the Israeli people will see this what it is. I mean, those hostages ought to be released. We ought to put an end to the massive amount of bloodshed that's taking place in Gaza. And instead, if the Trump administration lets this go by without any response, then the amount of carnage that will take place when Israel invades Gaza City will be unprecedented.
There's a significant portion of the Israeli public that is not happy about this, or Netanyahu's leadership and his decisions on the war. They've been marching, hundreds of thousands of them, intermittently, recently as well. Have you seen any intelligence to indicate that Israel was able to kill any Hamas leadership? Hamas says no. Do you have an idea of what happened?
I have not been briefed yet. I will get that later, but I'm also not going to share. I'm kind of old-fashioned that if it's something that's classified information, I don't talk about it on Signal and I don't share it with the media. But I'll hopefully have more information on that shortly.
Another question for you about Venezuela. The strike on the ship, the small boat with 11 people on board that the administration had said was carrying drugs to the United States. The New York Times has reporting from their sourcing inside the Pentagon that says that boat was turning around, that it had clearly gotten wind or notice that something was following them and they were turning around. If that boat was turning around, what does that mean for the justification of this boat being an imminent threat, which is what the administration has been using to justify this strike?
Well, again, I think it robs that justification. And listen, the Maduro regime in Venezuela, bad guys. Drugs flowing into America, absolutely we have to do all we can to stop that. But the challenge right now is there are international rules of law around stopping ships on the high seas. You're supposed to give a warning. You're supposed to stop it. None of that was taking place. So will we ever know? Were there actually drugs on this boat? Were these individuals on the boat really part of this Trindalagua gang or not? You've destroyed all the evidence. I mean, it would seem to me that if you want to make this case, you ought to at least first try to stop and seize the contents, because that would build a stronger case about further steps. But instead, by taking out this craft, and my understanding there's going to be, because it's in the open water, there's not going to be any effort to even discover who was on and what were the contents. I don't think we'll know. And my concern is, I don't want our sailors, who are clearly acting on the order of the president, to be somehow getting legal jeopardy themselves, because there are rules of engagement that countries abide by, and unless it is hard to make the attempt that this boat was literally a lethal threat to any American forces in the region.
I'm out of time, so I'm hoping to get these two more questions in. Yes. One of them is, have you seen intelligence on the Venezuelan boat? The administration has said that they've heard conversations about drugs. They have tapes of those conversations. Have you heard those tapes? Have you seen any evidence that those tapes exist?
I have not. Our staffs were briefed, but we were not. I would characterize it as the briefing was unsatisfactory.
We are hearing from President Trump. He is on his Truth Social platform saying that Charlie Kirk has passed away. So again, I'm going to read to you what the president said. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. So again, President Trump telling us at this hour that Charlie Kirk has died. Kirk was shot at an event at Utah Valley University earlier today, shortly after noon, according to the university. There was a single shot that rang out. He was shot in the neck, and now the President of the United States, someone that Charlie Kirk was close to, is reporting that he has died. I want to bring in Kristen Holmes. She is live for us at the White House. Again, Kristen, we're of course mourning Charlie Kirk. This is a man who, he was 31 years old. He had two very small children, 3 and 1 ages, I believe. He is someone who was very close to the President of the United States, close to the Trump family, someone who played a critical role, if you talk to people around the president, in the president winning his second term. What are you hearing from those close to us? We, of course, read the statement that just came through from President Trump.
It's a very somber mood here. People are very upset. It's not just at the White House, it's really among Republicans as a whole. The Republican Party has become the party of Trump, the MAGA movement, and Charlie Kirk was really at the heart of all of that. He is credited with a huge portion of Trump's win in 2024. He was on the ground. He created an entire system to get young voters out and excited and enthusiastic about Trump. And it's not just as though he was some kind of outside influencer. He was very close to the president himself. I know specific examples of times that the two of them went back and forth over various issues. When Charlie thought something was important to the MAGA base, he brought it to the president's attention. There are some people who believe that Charlie had his finger on the pulse of Trump's base more than even some of his own cabinet officials. He had a huge following and, again, was so close to the family, to President Trump himself. And one of the things, I continue to bring up is the fact that there was a lot of conversation during the transition as to potentially making Charlie Kirk part of the administration. But the ultimate decision was that he was more influential, had more power outside of being in a government position. He had been in Washington a number of times. He had been here with his family. He went to swearing-ins of numerous officials because he was so close to those officials. He had direct lines to almost, if not all, cabinet secretaries. I can tell you a number of them spoke to him personally. He was incredibly powerful and influential within this administration, and it feels from those that I'm talking to as though they've lost a member of their team. It is really critical to point out here just how important he was to the election, but also to President Trump. I had one person tell me that Trump considered him to be like family, and that's likely why you're seeing Trump as the one who is announcing his passing, not his family. All of this was done in conjunction. They've been in constant touch with the family, with Charlie's team, getting updates, trying to figure out what exactly happened on the ground. Now, no indication, no word if President Trump is actually going to also make a statement other than this Truth Social post. I know that they are in touch still with everyone close to Charlie's family, with his team at Turning Point, with the team around him, just trying to make sense of what happened. But I will tell you, I talked to, again, a number of officials within the administration who are close to President Trump who just can't wrap their head around what happened earlier today.
Of course they can't. Kristen Holmes, stand by for us as we continue to cover this story. I want to bring back our Scott Jennings. Scott, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. I know this is somebody that you knew. What are your reflections on his life, his legacy in this moment?
Well, Charlie was one of the most unique and special people in the conservative movement today. What he was able to build, the people he was able to organize, was just so large and powerful. He was able to convince people to get involved in politics that might not have otherwise done so. And you look at what he did on these campuses and in these public events, thousands of people were showing up, not for a rock concert, not for a sporting event, but for American politics. He inspired all these kids to be involved in their country. This is unequivocally a good legacy. He was also a godly person. He spoke about his faith openly. He was unapologetic about his views. I think what's been said about Charlie having his hand on the finger on the pulse of the MAGA base is true. But what's also true is that he was enormously influential in that when an issue was emerging, when something was happening and people were sorting out their own views on it, how should I feel about this? Charlie was one of the first people they turned to see where's Charlie going to be on this issue, and how's he processing it, how's he analyzing it, and how does he think the young conservative should view whatever the issue happened to be. So it wasn't that he was just reflecting people, he was leading people, he was influencing people. When he did something, when he said something, when he took a stand on an issue, you can bet that people would move. And so what he did to organize these young kids, to bring conservative values and views into public spaces that aren't normally thought of as places where conservatives would gather, was enormously courageous. It took a lot of damn guts to do it. And we'll never forget Charlie for being that next generation of conservative leader, rallying people when you might not have thought it was cool to do so, but he did it anyway. And he made it cool. And he made it, honestly, Charlie Kirk was a destination for a lot of young conservatives, and
Well,
We're going to miss him.
Scott, I mean, one thing, it's worth just noting how young he was. I mean, he started this organization back in 2012. He was 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's 31 today. I mean, even, I think the Trump people at the beginning sort of raised an eyebrow. They thought, this kid, like, what does he know?
Yeah.
And he showed them all that he actually had what you are talking about. He had something.
He did. He had a charisma, and he had an ability to make politics engaging for that audience. You know, he took something that some young people might find to be boring or out of reach, and he made it relevant and interesting for them. And once he had them, and once they were involved, he had then this ability to motivate them to do something with that. If you've ever been to one of these Turning Point USA rallies, I went to the one in Tampa just a few weeks ago, and I was honored. He invited me to speak there. It was the first time I had done so. And it's just arena full of young people. Some are in college, some are in high school, you know, some are just young adults. And their enthusiasm and zeal for the future of our country and how you change it for the better, and how they arrived at that was so inspiring. The way they arrived at it was because they were inspired by someone who knew how to use his voice, knew how to engage in debate and political rhetoric. What he was doing was the opposite of what's happened to Charlie. You know, what's happened to him is violent, but he was using his words and his speech, which is our first protected freedom in this country. And so we're going to miss Charlie, and we pray for his wife and those babies. He leaves behind a young family. You know, people like this who exist in the public sphere, we know them as public actors, and we see them in front of crowds, and we see them on TV, and we hear them on the radio. But they go home at night too, and they open a front door, and they hug a wife, and they hug children, and they put them down, and they oversee the toothbrushing and everything just like the rest of us. And so there's that side of them that we don't often think about, but Charlie was doing that too. So I just think in moments like this, it's easy to analyze the politics, but you know, there was Charlie the husband and Charlie the father, and he'll be missed forever.